Hello, my name is Clara Stump, and today I'm talking to you about the U-2 incident during the year of 1960. The U-2 incident was a big deal during the 1960s, especially since it was in the middle of the Cold War. The Cold War was when the United States and Soviet Russia were in an arms race. The Cold War wasn't actually a war like World War I or World War II. The Cold War was a serious time where at any time World War III could have started, with Russia and the United States acting as the instigators. This specific event was May 1st, 1960. An American U-2 spy plane was shot down over Soviet airspace. The pilot, Francis Gary Powers, ejected after being hit with two surface-to-air missiles, also known as SAMs. In the event that U-2 pilots were shot down, they were instructed to kill themselves with a deadly needle within a coin, and people called it spend the dollar. Also, they were ordered to destroy the plane. However, he disobeyed orders and parachuted to the ground, where he was captured by the KGB and arrested. The plane crashed because the pilot did not have time to destroy it, and parts were recovered and were put on public display in Moscow as evidence of American lies. The plane had self-destruct mechanisms that would leave wreckage unrecognizable, but obviously it did not occur the way it was planned to. It is surprising that the United States and the Soviet Union did not go to war over this incident, especially since normally entering another country's airspace unauthorized was considered an act of war. Francis Gary Powers did fly over Soviet airspace, but the United States' first response was that no such thing happened, and then obviously after that they knew that they were caught. They created the weather flight story. It is not only the fact that the United States did it, but also lied about it. That is why it was such a big deal. Before the United States had confirmation that Powers survived, officials claimed that the U-2 plane had been conducting a routine weather flight, but experienced a malfunction of its oxygen delivery system that had caused the pilot to black out and fly over Soviet airspace. On May 7th, the Soviet premier, Nikita Khrushchev, made it clear that Powers was alive and uninjured by the quote-unquote lack of oxygen. This showed that the United States was lying and made the United States look untrustworthy. Khrushchev wanted an apology, but President Dwight D. Eisenhower did not give one. Khrushchev also wanted the United States government to immediately stop flights over Soviet territory and punish the people responsible. Eisenhower promised to suspend all such flights during the remainder of his presidency, but Khrushchev did not accept this as a viable solution. If the president had apologized, the Paris summit would have not been canceled. The Paris summit was supposed to relax the tensions between the two nations and discuss the situation in Berlin and a possible test ban treaty which would have resulted in said relaxed tensions. President Eisenhower thought the U-2 mess was one of the worst debacles of his presidency. There was an interview done with Foreign Service Officer Bevo Nall, who actually saw the plane get shot down. In his interview, he said they had sort of three different cover stories. The first one was, "What airplane? We never saw anything." The second cover story was, "Yeah, it's a special high-altitude research plane that we're using for weather reconnaissance." The third one, they would admit that what the thing used to do was to fly up along the Russian border, but still well within Turkey's airspace. Analyzing Russian ground-to-air defenses and what they call quick alert reaction or quick reaction alert, to see how long it would take to scramble the Russian Air Force when a hostile aircraft flew into radar view. He also stated that it was a common thing to see those types of planes flying around the area that he was in. The plane itself was designed through a program called Aquatone. It was a reconnaissance plane that could go as high as 70,000 feet to where it could not be detected by radar and shot down like it was. Aquatone was created to avoid a surprise nuclear attack by the Soviets. President Eisenhower was growing nervous over Soviet technological advances and wanted to do something about it, so he thought spying was the best way. The CIA assured President Eisenhower that the Soviets did not have anti-aircraft weapons sophisticated enough to shoot down the planes. The first U-2 flight was in July of 1956. This project was located at Area 51 in Nevada. The plane was known as the Dragon Lady. Also, it was designed by Lockheed, an American company that designs planes for the military. The U-2's design allowed the aircraft to perform various missions, including mapping, atmospheric sampling, and the collection of land photographic data. The cover-up story that the United States used was totally plausible based on this information. However, since the Soviets found photographic evidence of what was actually being photographed, they ruled this to be another lie. What was actually being photographed were major missile sites. The mission was the 28th flight for Francis Gary Powers. He took off from a secret airbase in Pakistan and flew over Soviet airspace where he was shot down. When he was captured, he was convicted of spying and sentenced to 3 years in prison and 7 more of labor. He was later traded along with a detained American student for a captured Soviet spy, Rudolf Abel. There was a movie created called The Bridge of Spies, which gives an excellent view of that whole process. When Powers came home, he was not well received, and because he did not do what he was supposed to do to start with, which was to kill himself. Even after this incident, President Eisenhower refused to end the program. It eventually died off because of new technology like satellite imaging. Overall, this incident caused the United States and the Soviet Union to have increased tensions for the next 25 years. Khrushchev abandoned attempts to collaborate with President Eisenhower, and instead he waited for the inauguration of the new president, John F. Kennedy, who was elected into office in November 1960. Then there was the Cuban Missile Crisis and the Berlin Wall in the way, so overall there was no way to get around the tensions. The tensions only started to evolve when Gorbachev became General Secretary of Soviet Russia. He even initiated the fall of the Berlin Wall and the end of the Soviet Union altogether. All in all, the U-2 incident not only revealed tensions that already existed, it also showed that even in the roughest patches between two countries, it will eventually lead to a very good thing such as the end of the communist era. This was a win for the United States in the long run because there was no longer a threat of destruction pushing down on not just two nations but the whole world. In any case, the U-2 project made the United States as prepared as possible for such an event. Thanks for watching and hopefully learning about a very important and stressful event in American history.